I was thrown into prison 4 times and then sent to a labor camp for simply practicing Falun Gong, which is only a mind, body, spirit practice to improve mental and physical health. The labor camp felt like entering right into hell. From the very first moment we were in, we were forced to squat like this, with our hands putting behind our heads, our heads lowered, and our eyes looking at our feet motionlessly, squatting like this under the baking sun for 15 hours. Whenever someone couldn't endure or fainted, electric batons were immediately used on them so that they would be revived to continue with the squatting. On the second day in the camp, 2 police guards dragged me from the cell into the courtyard, threw me onto the ground, applied 2 electric batons on me all over the body until I lost consciousness. Every day was a struggle between life and death.
Hey guys, welcome to my regular Wednesday night live stream, although today is a premiere. Today I have the amazing, very special guest, Jennifer Zeng. Now, if you want to know a little bit about her, I've written here a small introduction. Jennifer Zeng, or Zeng, she was born in mainland China, where she obtained a Master of Science degree from Peking University in biochemistry. More recently, she has become well respected for her outspoken views on the practices of the Government of People's Republic of China. China appears to be a country that flourishes and is successful in its endeavors, but behind the scenes, there are many human rights violations, and it is with people like Jennifer Zeng who have the courage to speak out against an entire nation where we should all stop, listen, and see if we can assist in some way. Hello, and thank you so much for coming on my channel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I know you're a busy woman, so the fact that you've given me any of your time is truly a blessing, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for your time too.
Well, I just wanted to start by the fact that the reason you've come, I mean, I came to know you through a small tiny clip on Breitbart. And on Breitbart, you were talking very specifically about your treatment and how bad it was. I might share a little bit of that video in a moment, but why does the People's PPC, why do they have such an issue with Falun Gong? Do you want to describe Falun Gong, what it is, why it is? It's not a religion. People think it's a religion, but it's not a religion.
It depends on how you define a religion. Falun Gong is, yes, it's basically a very ancient, you can say, Tai Chi or yoga type of Qigong exercise, very ancient in Chinese culture. We cultivate, we call human body exercises together, so like meditation. And the Falun Gong also has 3 principles to follow in your daily life: truthfulness, compassion, tolerance, or forbearance. So basically, it's a self-improvement, bodies, mind, spirit, self-improvement system, you can call it that, to help people to gain better health and better, I think, mental status. So because of its very obvious benefits, both mentally and physically, it develops very fast back in China after it's first introduced to public in 1992. So within only 7 years, there were more Falun Gong practitioners than the ruling party in China. You know, China is a one-party nation. The Chinese Communist Party rules the country forever. So it never allows anything that it thinks it is outside of its control. Now suddenly there were so many people practice truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. And these people are believing in these principles instead of the communist ideology. So although Falun Gong is a non-political practice, or it's not an organization really, it's just many individuals practicing the same thing, but to the party which never allows any independence, whichever form, either ideologically or in any sort of structure form. So it felt threatened because it has a very basic, I think, fear for its own legitimacy, because this party was never elected by the people to rule the country. So they always wanted to create a certain level of fear in the society, so nobody would dare to question their own legitimacy. So I think that's the main reason why they decided to crack down on Falun Gong.
Well, I'm not particularly sure about the specifics of Falun Gong. If sometimes I drive past a Chinese church, well, it looks like a church, it might not be a church, but I drive past a building, and then it says, I think it's Mandarin or Cantonese, but then below it says, we must stop the leader of Falun Gong or something like that. And that confuses me. And I'm like, is Falun Gong supposed to be a good thing or a bad thing? Like, why are people protesting Falun Gong? How do you respond to that? What do you think that would mean when people do that?
I'm not quite sure whether there's any Chinese temple putting that kind of banner on. As far as I'm aware of, it is only the Chinese Communist Party trying to defaming Falun Gong, attacking Falun Gong, demonizing Falun Gong, and using a whole machinery of the whole nation, all the propaganda. I think within several months of the crackdown, there were hundreds of thousands of articles attacking Falun Gong from all sides of the media, all the channel, including usually there were only musical only channel or children's channel. All those channels all broadcast anti-Falun Gong propaganda.
Wow.
Yes, so you couldn't avoid whichever channel you switched. It's the same thing: propaganda against Falun Gong, to demonize Falun Gong. So that kind of thing happened for many a very long period of time. But overseas, sometimes if you go to the website of any, I think, Chinese embassy of any country, they still have some kind sort of page, post some things against Falun Gong. But maybe there were some individuals who were either bought over or supported or backed up by the CCP. They want to attack Falun Gong. But apart from those, I didn't find any government outside of China, all over the world, found any problem, or any individual found any problem with Falun Gong. Because like I said, Falun Gong is just some kind of very gentle physical exercises plus 3 principles to follow in your daily life: truth, compassion, forbearance, or tolerance. I don't think anybody would not agree with those principles.
I would definitely, yeah. I love Jesus, but that sounds fine to me. I don't see why anyone would hate Falun Gong. It seems silly. And you're a doctor. Maybe you should prescribe it to everyone.
Yes, we should.
Well, it's funny what you said. This wasn't one of my planned questions, but I think it's worth raising. I just want to get your perspective. Here in the West, we sort of have an onslaught of propaganda, and the propaganda is all pro-LGBT, pro-transgenderism, pro-atheism. For those of us who are people of faith, when I mean people of faith, I mean people who are people of the Bible, people who believe in Christ. It bothers us a little bit, I suppose, because whilst we don't want any harm, physical harm or any bullying or hurt to come to people who are gay or people who are transgendered, we also don't want it to be promoted as much as it is. So it's sort of the opposite, whereas your government is demonizing and weaponizing, persecuting Falun Gong, but over here, there's so much propaganda for the LGBTQ community. Do you see a contrast there, and how do you respond to the West's method of indoctrination?
Yes, I think there is a very worrying trend in the Western society where, yes, we enjoy the freedom,
Mm,
but the very worrying trend is, I think sometimes, like you said, um, actually maybe it's the same problem, only manifesting in different kind of form. I hope everyone
exactly.
can have a read of the
Exactly.
series of article called "The Spectre of Communism is
The
Ruling
spectrum.
Our World." Yeah, it's published by the Epoch Times. If you go to theepochtimes.com, you
I'm a
can get
familiar
that
with
series, yes, of that
it.
article. So in
Love it, love
China,
it.
they are manipulating people, or maybe they are doing the communist revolution with violence. But in Western countries, they are trying to infiltrate the society with non-violent way. So they have the communist specter has actually trying to take over the education system of the Western society, legal system, a media system to advance their agenda. So sometimes the so-called liberty on the surface sounds good, but there are many hidden messages there that to, I think, drive people away from our traditional values, from what make human beings. And without we realizing it, and many trends in the society now, I think, is not that good on the
Mm.
surface. And we really need to think hard about those traditional values that we have upheld for many thousands of years.
Yes, I'm so glad to hear you say that. I often speak to different people on a political level, conservatives and libertarians, and to be honest, I hardly ever speak to a leftist because they don't want to talk to me. But either way, we all agree that Australia, I don't know about the US, you can shed some light from your perspective now that you live in New York, but Australia is a communist country in disguise as a capitalist democracy. We see it in the fact that our housing prices are going up, and that all the Chinese, actually, not you as in, not like, you know what I mean. I'm not demonizing yet, but the Chinese are buying us out. Like, our land is being sold and bought like we're a company, like we're a business. And so that makes it more hard for people in my generation, and if I ever have kids, for people of that generation to ever buy a house, because the Chinese are buying us out. Not only that, it's so much more difficult now to get rich in this country. You need to have at least 7 different projects, from what I've heard, to get wealthy. So we think we have freedom, but we really don't, and we have to report to the government about all these stupid things. What do you think regarding that, regarding how it is here to where you are in the US, and contrasting that with China?
Yes, I think in China, many things are very obvious. Like I said, they use violence to crack down on people that they don't like. But in overseas, they also had a plan, especially for Australia. I'm not sure whether you've noticed the recent media report about a defected Chinese spy called William Wang, or Wang Liqiang.
Oh
His
no, I
story,
haven't. What's wrong?
yeah, his story was on the 6th minute of Channel 9, I think,
Oh, you know what? I
on
did.
the 23rd of November.
I,
Actually, before him, there was another defector from the Sydney Chinese consulate. He was a
I'm not
first
surprised.
secretary of politics. So his name is Chen Yonglin. That was back in
That's
2005.
more
I was
familiar
still
to
in
me.
Australia then,
Oh,
and
you
I
were that?
helped. Yeah, I helped him with many of his media interviews. So
Oh,
I
okay.
knew, yeah, quite a bit of it. So according to them, the Chinese Communist Party had a plan to turn Australia into one of their puppets. They want to take over
Incredible.
Australia. Yes, they had a plan as early as 10 or maybe 14 years ago. When that guy came out of the Chinese consulate, he exposed all this, but Australia, I think, didn't take enough notice then.
Mm.
So after 14 years, we could see little by little, they are closer and closer to their goal. So that's their plan. They want to take over Australia from all sorts of fronts. So they infiltrate Australia through
With plants.
diplomatic, political, and economic, and even cultural fronts. So they came all over these places. They had a very detailed plan. So if you search for Chen Yongling infiltration or Wang Liqiang, you will got those stories. So that's in Australia, I think, a very typical story. Here in the United States, it's the same. I think now people have realized that there were so many problems. They have the Confucius Institution and Confucius Classroom, which is one of the many united front, department work. They through those infiltration method, they try to buy over many politicians, bribe them, and big businesses. They have all their representatives, many, I think, sector of the society which lobby for the Chinese Communist Party. That's why they could advance so much. They could create, I think, many internal instability. They have people within America fight against themselves, so they can benefit from it, and they can demonize democracy. They say our system is more effective than yours. You are having all sorts of these problems, but many problems were created by them, and they also try to infiltrate and take control of Taiwan's election. It's very soon. And according to Wang Liqiang, he actually especially exposed, they put a huge amount of dollars into certain party they think they can control, and they help a certain candidate to win the previous election so that they could advance their agenda. They want to unify Taiwan. So very, very dangerous. All over the world, they have the One Belt, One Road project that aim to take over not only Australia but the world. So that's their plan. Their China dream. They want to have a so-called common community of humankind. That's another way, beautiful way of express, I think, communist, very violent idea in the Communism, I think, manifesto back in maybe 200 years ago, saying they want to overthrow all existing civilizations and use violence to conquer the world. That's their real plan.
I gotta say, China's sounding a lot like the German Nazis back in the time, or it's sounding a lot like, I don't know what you think about Christians, but in the Book of Revelations, it predicts that one nation will take over the world. Maybe that's China.
Yes, I believe that too. I think, in Revelation, they're mentioned a demon or some kind of a beast. They give you a mark. They give you a mark on your forehead. I think that's Communist Party. Yeah, they ask you to raise your hands and swear to the party flag that you will contribute your life, all your life. You will sacrifice all your life to the party. And when you do this, the mark is marked somewhere at the other dimension, and you are part of this party and part of this beast. We do believe that refers to the Communist Party.
It's either China that the book is talking about or Islam. I haven't made up my mind yet.
I think it's the Chinese Communist Party in terms of the power they have. The Islam, I don't think they are half as powerful. The Chinese Communist Party now has the #2 economy in the world.
What's
and people were number-wise the United States, but people predicting that China will overtake USA if they follow the previous trends for another 20 or some years, if the US didn't do something to stop that kind of trend. It is on the road toward that, but it has exceeded Japan and has become the second largest economy in the world. So if it want to do, I think, bad enough damage, it needs to have the power. Just like it wants to take over Australia, it needs to have the money to come to donate to both two big parties of Australia. That's what already happened. That's why they have their people in both parties. That's their plan.
Mm. Well, I remember there was a time in Australia where there was a politician, I'm assuming you've heard of her if you've lived in Australia. Her name was Pauline Hanson, and she was very opposed to Chinese immigration, which when I was younger, I assumed racist, because when I was younger, I just believed the media. But looking back at it now, I don't think she is a racist. I don't think wanting to stop Chinese immigration makes you racist. I think it makes you want to preserve what you already have in your own country. That's how I see it now. So I'm quite intrigued now to now being someone who believes that, and I'm a first generation Australian, but I believe that immigration should be put on a halt and that isn't racist to say that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think people should, like, I always believe that if you want to migrate to one country, it is because you want to live in that country and you should accept the values of that country. Otherwise, why do you want to go there? So I think the Western countries should try to screen people ask them about their values. Like there are many, I think, Chinese Communist Party members. They are living in the Western society, but they are still reading the Chinese propaganda. They are still reading the Chinese language media. They are still using WeChat, Weibo, all the Chinese softwares, and they are still loyal to the Chinese Communist Party, and they are doing damage to the Western society and democracy. So I think those kind of people, we need to screen them out. Maybe next time, I think we should try to judge people on their values, not their race, not their colors. But if you want to migrate to this country, you need to accept, you need to respect the values of this country. Otherwise, you can go back to, if you love China that much, you can go back to China.
I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, but there are so many people. They are enjoying the freedom here, and some of them are receiving government pensions, but they are doing all sorts of things to defend the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
And I don't quite understand those kind of people, and I don't think a Western government or Western country should tolerate that kind of people.
Completely agree. In the West, we believe that, we believe in the notion of America first or Australia first, like help those in your own country first before you help anyone else. So although it also seems we have an open door policy for like dangerous immigrants or immigrants in general, do you think it's our problem? I know that sounds harsh. I don't mean it like that, but do you know what I mean?
Yes, I think sometimes things has gone too fast. Like in USA now, they are trying so hard to debate whether we should put a wall on our border with Mexico. So I think for every family, it's so normal. It's your right. If you want to put a lock on your door, that's perfectly fine. If you want to, put the theft out of your home, that's your own right. I don't know why now, if I want to build a wall on my own border, that becomes a problem. So I don't know what the logic there is. I think some people's mind must be totally go crazy. And also I think every country has its own sovereignty. You go to every country, they ask you for you to have a visa, or if they agreed for you to not have a visa, but they still, I think they have the sovereignty to agree to you to come in or not. I think that's totally fine. That's a right of every country. Like as a family owner, I have the right to put a lock on my door and to say, oh, you are welcome and you're not welcome. I think that's the totally, I think the right of a certain country or just like a certain family. I think it's going too far to say, oh, we should just open all sorts of doors. We just allow everybody to come in. So where is your sovereignty? Why you are existing as a country? I think that's just going to find ridiculous in to some
Pre-
degree.
Preservation of culture and your own people at some capacity should be allowed, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I think, yeah, it's very important that we don't go to extremes no
no,
matter what. Yeah, we need, as an immigration country, we welcome migrants, but we do need to screen what kind of migrants we want.
exactly. Okay, so given that the Chinese government has so much power, why is there an agenda being rolled out throughout China in 2020? You know, do you have any concerns about the implications to people practicing Falun Gong and Christianity?
I think the situation is getting worse in China now.
Is it?
The persecution of Falun Gong has been going on for 20 years now. This year, they started in 1999. I think because the international world didn't do enough or nothing at all, even to try to stop this persecution. Now this party is spreading the persecution to other groups of the society as well. So now we heard about millions of Uyghurs being detained in those camps. And also they spread the persecution to people of Hong Kong. And also all religions are being, I think, persecuted, like underground Christians in China. Maybe I think tens of thousands of them got persecuted, and they are demolishing churches, and they are putting party leaders' pictures in churches, and ask the believers to believe in the party first, and then you can believe your God. And also the Buddhist temples, they are demolishing many Buddha statues as well. So for all kind of religions and also Tibetan Buddhism, they are having a more and more difficult time in China now. So I think the international society does need to wake up to this and try some way to stop this from happening. Otherwise, especially, I'm not sure whether you have heard of this live organ harvesting abuse or not.
I was going to ask you that because you said
Yes.
when people were on the verge of death in the labor camps, that's it. It doesn't matter that they're on the verge of death. You're not going to try to help them. You'll kill them, and then their organs will go to Russia or somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not on the verge of death. I think later on they develop a whole system, an industry to harvest organs from. They have people detained there as live organ bank. They have them blood tested, have them do physical checkups of every sort, and have their data, DNA data or blood type data or tissue data, whatever data is needed, installed in a computer. So anybody from any part of the world, if you need an organ, you go to China, they find a match for you within 1 week or 2 weeks, and then that person is killed on demand to
Is that
order.
is that an adherent from Falun Gong, or is that a Christian as well? Is that a Muslim? Is that any minority?
I think the majority were Falun Gong practitioners because
Okay.
the crackdown on Falun Gong is very systematic, and the number is so huge, and it's happening for so many years. But in recent years, there were evidence that this could be happening to other minorities as well, because when money go mad, it will never stop, and it will never feel greedy and they want to do more. There's no reason why they only stop these two Falun Gong practitioners. But evidence has it that the majority, especially in the beginning years from the first I think crackdown 20 years ago up till now, the majority of the victims are Falun Gong practitioners, and the number could be in millions. That's very terrifying anti-humanity crime, and I think the world still knows very little of it and did virtually nothing to stop it.
Maybe they weren't aware.
No.
Yeah, it's very sad to me that a lot of people talk about, particularly where in the movement that I'm in, there's a lot of drama between civic nationalists versus ethno-nationalists. the civic nationalists believe in ideas and thoughts, and that race doesn't matter. And I can get on board with that concept, but at the same time, I can also get on board with the concept of what the white nationalists or the ethno-nationalists say, because what they say is that your people should be preserved, and we don't want to disappear, like the Mayans or the Aztecs or something like that, or the ancient Egyptians. Like there's something nice about keeping your heritage, your blood, and I think there's something nice about that. But then it's funny to me that China doesn't see it from a tribal perspective. They see it from the government, obviously. I mean, the PPC, is that how you say it? Yeah, the CPP.
CCP.
CPP.
CCP, right. Chinese Communist Party, yes.
My apologies. Yeah, the CPP don't see it like that. They don't care about blood. They just care that you're thinking the right things. And so if you're not thinking the right things, they're going to punish you with a thought crime. And your punishment is like squatting or like being electrocuted by batons, which is ridiculous to me. I was also watching something on YouTube. It was a Christian news clip, and they were saying that China is the fastest growing Christian country ever. But that sounds so strange to me, because they're not allowed to be Christian. Like, are there churches left? I don't know. It seems so free, China, when you look at it through the eyes of the media, but it's obviously not.
No, it's not. I think in terms of fastest growing Christians, because the base population of China is huge. Yeah, it has 1.5 billion people now. And I think because actually the communism has already gone bankrupt after the Cultural Revolution. Nobody ever, I think, not even the party members or the party leaders believe in communism anymore. So people are searching for something to believe, and many people feel appealed to Christianity or Catholics. I think that's quite normal. Yes, but in China, they have two types of churches. One is officially recognized. So those kind of churches are actually under the leadership of the party. Sometimes they send party members to work as a priest. They look like a priest, but they are actually party members. Yes. So they send party members and also to the Buddhist temples. So they control the temple. Yeah, you are allowed to worship your God after you worship me. So my orders first, and then you can do what you want. So that kind of, yes, they try to control those. But there are another part of some, now we call them underground Christianity or house church members.
That's what I heard.
Yes, they are outside of the government. They are not registered with the government. They read the Bible themselves. They have their own interpretation of those churches. So those kind of people are getting persecuted all year round. Yeah.
Very sad. What are your thoughts on the social credit system being rolled out throughout 2020? Do you have any concerns about that? That'll make people, that's actually, sorry, I don't mean to go biblical again. That's biblical. That social credit system, I feel like that's the beginning of the end.
Yes, that's very terrifying.
It is.
I think with the Western technology, with the help of the Western companies, the CCP is establishing a control and monitoring system to all the people, every corner in the society. So when the crackdown Falun Gong first started, I got thrown into a labor camp and tortured nearly to death for 1 year just for an email that was intercepted by the internet police. So that's my thought crime. So that was in the early age. They already started to monitor and control all the internet traffic. They set up many keywords. So as soon as there are any keywords, they were on any, I think, internet traffic, they were spot them and they will block them, or they will catch you, whoever is involved in those kind of activities like sending an email. And later on, they develop audio kind of recognition system. So if you are on a phone talking to a people and you mention Falun Gong, that audio recognition system know you are talking about some forbidden topic. You got identified. They know your number. They arrest you. So now they are having, because this face recognition technology and this intellectual cameras, they are now having 2 cameras for every single person in that country. So every single movement they control, and they are now predicting your thought movement or your actions from the big data analysis, from whatever data they've already collected about you. So even before you do something, and they can also analyze your facial expression. If you are listening to a party member's speech and your facial expression is not that pleasant, they catch you. So yeah, it's so terrifying to think about this. And do you know what? I think I am not sure whether you heard about Huawei. That is a telecommunication company, a very big company in China. It has its own cell phone brand, and it's helping many countries to build up 5G network. And with the 5G network they built, they have backdoors to connect data from you and to monitor you. And they are actually trying to exporting this kind of a monitoring system to not only China, I think to over 50 countries. I just read a media report today. So they are trying to do this to the whole world, so that they want to put everybody on control. And if they've already stolen so much data from, I know from Americans as already, like they have 100,000 Navy staff's personal data on hold. So they can analyze who you are, they know who you are, they can blackmail you, and they can maybe try to bribe you if they know the personal connections. They have their own agenda. So that's they're of course they are doing a social credit system in China. They have everybody under control, and the more dangerous thing is they are now trying to spread this kind of system to other countries as well.
I don't know if you know this. This is something that I found quite interesting. It was created, 5G was created in Israel, but the Jewish people don't want it in their own country. They're just selling it. China, apparently, is spreading it. That's crazy.
Yes,
How crazy is that? Oh.
Yes. There are many. I think the Cisco in America, I think, helped the Chinese Communist Party to monitor the internet, that kind of technology or not. Even I think big companies like Google, Facebook, they are to some kind of a degree working with the government or trying to appease because they want to enter into China. They do something. Sometimes they agree to block or to or censor the internet, free speech on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party, because they want the market share. So many big companies are doing this for the money, and they sell out the values of their own country. That's very sad.
What they're doing is signing their soul to Satan. That's what they're doing. It's ridiculous.
Yes, that is.
I've been banned off Facebook myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just for silly things that I didn't mean. And one time they took off my whole entire page. So like, how I have my YouTube channel, I have the equivalent on Facebook, but the equivalent got taken down for promoting a rally about, I think that's why it was taken down, because the rally was about how the Sudanese in Australia were causing problems in my state of Victoria. And we just wanted to put a stop to the government. We don't want to put a stop to the Sudanese. They're people, they're humans. But like the government is always the issue with every single rally. It's always goes back to the government. And so, so my point is that Facebook and Google are pretty much a government in themselves. They're so powerful. And no one should be that powerful. I don't believe.
Yeah, I think that is a problem. They are so powerful that they can, I think, influence. I think in the United States they can influence the election, and that they can try to suppress a certain party they don't like, and to promote a party that they like. They are doing that already. Yes.
They are. You make sure you vote for Trump, okay?
I don't have a vote yet. I'm not a citizen. I'm an Australian citizen still.
Oh, okay. I was only teasing. But
Yeah.
Trump, I think, is the future, and I don't think any of the leftists, except for maybe Tulsi Gabbard, are none of them really. Do you consider yourself more on the right than on the left in terms of the spectrum, in terms of the political compass?
I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'm on the, I think maybe more conservative, or traditional. I think traditional and conservative side. I'm not quite sure whether that is right or that is left.
That's more on the right, but I mean, yeah, you don't have to give yourself the label, but as long as you sort of know where you are on it, even if you don't want the label, that's a good identifier, just to know.
Yes.
I was going to ask you about the labor camps, if that's okay. I know that's horrible memories, but you must have incredible stamina. The people who are like, what, they're squatting like that, bent down for 15 hours, correct?
Yes.
How does do people, this is a bit rude of me, but do people wee and poo?
Yes. If you need, you need to ask for permission, and they maybe only give you. I think, if you read my book, I wrote about the process in detail. When we were in a so-called dispatch center, every morning we were given only 2 minutes to wash our face, brush our teeth, and use the toilet. Altogether 2 minutes. So yeah, every day they put our mind under such great pressure that you want to collapse at any moment. And that's a purpose. They just want to crash you down mentally, so that you agree to whatever they want you to do, to give up Falun Gong, to help them, to torture others, and to go to agree to the party, and to be so fearful of the party that you don't dare to say, never ever to say no to them whatsoever. So that's the purpose. We have a ton of time in the day, but they only give us 2 minutes, and then for all the time in the day we have to. The first day is to squat under the sun. From the second on, we need to stand in a very tiny cell, also with our hands put on our body, in front of our body. All our heads must be lowered all the time, looking at our feet for 20. Yes, if you are not asleep, you're always in the same, I think, kind of position, and at the same time you need to recite out very loudly the very insulting labor camp regulations, like you need to promise you will not steal money from others, because these regulations were I think written for these real criminals, for these thieves, for these rapists. You were promised you will not do any nasty,
you were treated.
We were treated like those. Yeah, like a rapist. And we need to recite out all these regulations written for those kind of people. You promise don't kill people. You promise don't steal money. You promise don't do sex with sell your sex. All sorts of that very insulting things, and you have to recite out those 16 hours per day. It's enough to drive any, I think, same person into insanity. And that's what really happened to many people in the labor camp. I witnessed the process.
I'm sure you did. Is it possible? And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to make the enemy appear good, but as a Christian, I do believe in repentance and redemption. Is it possible that the officers enforcing what they were enforcing didn't want to, but they had to, and that maybe they had a heart? Is that possible?
It depends. Because there are different people. There were some kind of people, like you said, they had a heart. They want to not to be that harsh. And in one occasion, one of the officer even said to me, she said he wrote, we were asked to write about our thought report every day. I did write one to talk about why I chose to practice Falun Gong and why Falun Gong is beneficial to the society and why the government should allow it instead of, should encourage it instead of, cracking down on it. I wrote a very long letter or thought report. And she read that later, and she said she took the article back to her home and read it together with her husband. And she said to me privately, if we were not in the labor camp, I want to be your sister, I want to be your friend. So there were those kind of people, but unfortunately, because she was removed from her position very soon, because maybe she had a heart, she couldn't do what she was supposed to do, so she was removed. And they had a policy to ensure that everybody became very, very harsh. They have a quota to achieve. For the police, they have to reform, or they have to force all the Falun Gong practitioners to give up their belief. The ratio is 95%. So if they cannot do that job, there will be a fine. They will either lose their job or they could be demoted. And so to put the pressure on, so the police in turn forced the other criminals in the labor camp to torture us. So to help, if the criminals did a good job for them, they could be released ahead of time, and they could be rewarded. They have a scoring system in the labor camp too. So if your score is on the top 5%, you can be released ahead of time. So those criminals compete with each other to have a higher score so that they can be released advance. So to do a good job means they torture us as badly as they can, so that they got us to reform very, very quickly. So they are doing a good job. So they have a full system to ensure they maximize the devil. I think for any human being, we have a good side, we have a bad side inside ourselves, but they try to enlarge the bad side or the demon side inside you. They turn you into a totally demon with their policies, their systems, and they squash your soul. So if you have a kind heart, so it's very difficult for you to live, to exist in that system. So in order to go along with this system, you have to force yourself to turn into a demon, so that you don't feel,
Did you become a demon?
I think many people did turn into a demon because of this system. And they have another policy that, everyone, when you are released, some officer needs to sign your release paper. So forever who signed your release paper, he or she is responsible for you for another 3 years. Say if I was released, but I go back to Falun Gong, I go to Tiananmen again to protest against the persecution. Within 3 years, whoever signed my release paper got punished because he was responsible for me. So it means I have not been totally transformed. So he should not have released me. So because of this policy, they rather torture. If they torture us to death, they are not being held accountable. And if they torture us into insanity, they are not held accountable. But if we are still sane, we still have a heart, we still go back to Falun Gong, they will be demoted or fired or get such a huge fine, maybe 1 year of salary gone. So they'd rather torture us to death or torture us so badly that we became, I think, insane, or we are some people were so terrified they were no longer themselves. They were so terrified. They were scared of any tiny little thing. They dared ever to say anything against the Communist Party anymore. So they'd rather torture you into a non-human being without a soul, without a free will, than just to release you as a normal person. So they have a full system to ensure that you are bad enough to do a good job for them.
Yes. Well, I can't imagine you being a demon. You seem so lovely. it's a it's a pity that that's their method. That obviously everyone has to. You sort of have to play the game, or what else are you supposed to do? You kind of have no choice.
If you want to get reformed, you have to let them believe you have reformed. You have be turned, and you now believe from the bottom of your heart that the government is doing a great job in cracking down on Falun Gong, and the Falun Gong is really as bad as the government portrays it, and you believe it from the bottom of your heart, so you would help the government willingly to crack down on Falun Gong because you believe the government is doing the right thing. You need to convince them, otherwise you are still regarded as not reformed. I was nearly driven into insanity for 1,000 times because I couldn't make peace with myself. I struggled between the desire of wanting to get out so that I can write a book to expose the evil. But if you don't do those things they force you to do, you can never be released. So what can I do? Every day I couldn't make peace with myself. I struggled. And that kind of internal torture, I think, nearly killed me another 1,000 times. And it was far worse than the electric shocks or for the physical torture I got.
Really?
And I think I really hope that this kind of inhumane treatment to any human being will never ever happen again in human history. It's a shame that we once allow a regime, a party, to do such a thing to a living being created by God. I think we should never ever allow this thing to happen. And this is, I think, the most evil part of this persecution, which is they deprive people the very essence of what make a human being as a human being, like your soul, your free will, your free thoughts, and the ability to think for yourself. They want to take them all and reduce you into an empty shell and only some piece of flesh made of some kind of flesh. They don't recognize that you have a soul, and they don't allow you to have a soul, to have any kind of free will or free thought, and they want to turn any other human being into a non-human being, a walking corpse, a piece of meat, a piece of flesh, and maybe some kind of bank of organs so they can make money out of this pile of flesh. That's what they are really do.
It's ridiculous. Do you think, and this is an odd way to put it, but do you think communism, or at least the way it's practiced in China, is a religion? It seems like it's the #1 religion, and if you don't follow, off with your head.
Yes, I think this we should never regard the Communist Party as a normal political party. It is a religion, and it is an evil cult, and it is an evil religion, and it actually portrays itself as the God, and above all God, it eliminate all the existing religion and all the other faiths in other gods, and they don't allow you to believe in gods, but you must believe in the communism or the party. They actually turn themselves into a god, and then I think the worst thing they do is then they are not ashamed to let you find out they are not the god. They are like they are like very bad people. They are demons, and then
You
you
know
lost. Yes,
they're not, but they still want to.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't care. They just want to crush any. So I think the worst thing in Chinese society is now people no longer have faith in anything because they say there's no God. Once we think the party's God, the party turned out to be so roguish. That did so all sorts of bad things, and they are not ashamed of it. They just want to try to, I think, crush people's faith in that goodness still existing in society, that good will be rewarded with good, evil will be rewarded with bad things. They just want to crush all your faith in anything. And then the only, I think, thing people believe in China now is power or money. So if you believe in power, if you go after money, it's very
family.
no, that family value has long been demolished by the party. They encourage family members to strike against themselves. So during the Cultural Revolution, you see sons, daughters, fight or even beaten up their parents very badly, their teachers. They have long, I think, demolished family members, and everybody should become, they talk about the party nature instead of human nature. So if you need to put party above everything, including your family. So if now they know, they don't care that you find out they are roguish, they are bad people, because there is no good people in the society. There is no goodness in the human world. So the only thing you should go after now is money and power and women. So if you go after those material things, you are very easy to be controlled, and that's their purpose. They want to control everybody from. They don't want you to have any human nature or human thought, and only some I think pieces, like I said, a piece of flesh, and go after material things so they can control you. They can very easily use this kind of people as their tool.
I can't help say this, and I don't mean to offend the atheists who are going to watch, but I consider communism and atheists literally one and the same, just that the Communist Party is an extremist version of atheism. Do you agree with my analysis there, or not particularly?
I'm not particularly, I think, I neither I want to offend the atheism, but I think, yes, the Communist Party has driven that into some kind of extreme.
Yes.
And if you don't believe that God, that's okay, but you should not forbid me from believing in God. So the Communist Party, yes, that's.
Do you personally believe in God? Because Falun Gong and Christianity are two separate things.
Yeah, two separate things. I'm saying God just to refer to refer any kind of higher being. There's another word. Yes. I think the communism has really carried that to a very, very extreme.
Yeah.
Where they are already against all humanity.
Yeah. So you're okay. Water?
Yes.
We're almost done.
That's fine.
I have a cold as well, actually. Part of your speech, you was talking about. I liked what you said about socialism. My family, my father is from Spain, which was once a monarch. At one stage, it was also under fascism, and now it's become a socialist country. This is my dad's country of Spain, a country I used to visit every 3 years, with my cousins and speak Spanish and whatever. And my mother's family is all from South America and Colombia. And Venezuela is right next to Colombia. And because of Venezuela, Colombia suffers because they're getting all this extra immigration and they can't handle it. So I'm a little bit, the reason I tell you all this is because you've referred to China as socialism, even though others call it communism. Now, I sort of see, to be honest, I see socialism, communism as almost the same thing. I know that upsets people, but I don't really see too much of a difference. But my question to you is, why do you oppose socialism, and why have you referred to China as a socialist country?
That's not what I refer to them. The Chinese Communist Party
Oh, do they?
they officially called the China as socialism with Chinese characteristics. That
Oh,
their official
okay.
name for China. So it's not, I'm referring it
Fair enough.
as socialism. And also
Mm.
in our textbook, we study, you know, a lot of politics textbook.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
in our textbook, it says the human history develops as follows. It's first is its primary society, and then it's a slave society. Then it's feudal society, then it's capitalist society, and then it's socialist society, and then it's communism. So that the inevitably, I think, development of human society. So every society is either in the path of any stage. So socialism is only the primarily or the transition kind of social form before we achieve communism. So every society should be go through this kind of different development stage and then ultimately achieve communism. That's what we were taught and a set rule. So
I
any
understand.
country will go through that. If you are a capitalist now, capitalism now, you will one day go to socialism, and then you go to communism. If you
That's
are
true.
not, yeah, if you
In
are
the
not
West.
going to use socialism yet, we need to stage some kind of revolution to
Yeah.
overthrow your society so that we can develop to so next stage. If anybody is blocking this, is opposing this, you are anti-revolutionary, and we
Mm.
should get rid of you to kill you. That's what they have been doing all over the world, and that's why I think communism had killed about 200 million people, and that's exceeded all the numbers of the world wars. So communism killed more people than the two world wars that we need to
Yes,
know.
that's completely true. Um,
Yeah.
it's just funny to me that because you said it in your speech, and I've been saying this for years, many people have noticed that for some reason, the rich little children who go into university, you know, think, oh, yeah, communism's the best, socialism. Like, I don't understand how stupid they can be. And I know that's mean to say that, but it really is ridiculously stupid. It's like you can just observe history and know it hasn't worked. And so it was very good for you to say that in your speech.
Yes, I think it's the communism. They create many beautiful words like
Sure.
everybody. Yeah, everybody
Yeah, it's equal.
can enjoy equality. Everybody has what they need. Everybody is looked after by this big government. So it sounds so appealing. That's why
Yeah.
so many people were attracted to communism. I think especially in the beginning stages. But
Mm.
as you said, we've already gone through that stage. We've already have so much history there of all those either communism or socialism, and we knew what that means in reality. So if we already know the history, if we already know this is what happening, why should we repeat it? And why should we
Mm.
still be deceived by these empty words, which never worked in reality? So
Yeah,
I think especially for people who have lived in this communism or socialism country, I think we will know better. So that's why I always feel like to remind luckier people in the Western society, don't be deceived by those communism or socialism lies.
that's right. Everyone listen to Jennifer Zeng. Don't be deceived. What are your thoughts on Hong Kong and the whole China Hong Kong debacle? I would like your opinion on that, your thoughts on that.
Yes, I think Hong Kong people really, I think, gain the respect of the whole world.
Yeah.
I think with their struggle now 6 months already, and I feel the world can, really stand behind them. They are now the front, I think, battle line between the free world and the communist China. If Hong Kong lose, we all lose. So I think the free world should really get behind Hong Kong and support their very basic pursuit for freedom and for what they were promised to give them. And Hong Kong, I think, it's a real very good example of what will happen to you if you are handed, or if you are handed to a communist party. They are not handed entirely. They promised one country, two systems. They are promised that they can preserve their way of life, their social system for 50 years, but now it's only some 20 plus years. That's kind of freedom and what they were promised all almost gone. That's why Hong Kong people felt if they didn't stand up now, their future generations were lost freedom forever. It's now or never. That's why they feel so compelled and they became so brave in defending, yes, what they have. And I think this courage really, their courage really encouraged many people around the world, as many people inside China. And I hope people inside China can learn from the courage of Hong Kong people, and when they have this courage to stand up as well, to say to the Communist Party, enough is enough. We also want our freedom.
That's fantastic. We'll finish up. What is your personal position in China now? Like, are you banned? Are you not allowed there?
No, not at all. I was totally banned from going back to China. And even sometimes I need some kind of document to be, like there's a legal term like authorization by the Chinese consulate overseas. They refused to do it for me. So I've never been back to China for 18 years. And even back in 2014, when my father was dying, I couldn't go back to see him for the last time. So that was very hard, breaking. I could never go back to China to visit my family.
What about them? Can't they leave and go to a neutral place like Cal? Forgot the name of the
my father was never allowed to go out of China, so he died without seeing me. My mother, when she was intended to come to the US last year to visit me, her passport was, revoked, and she was stopped at the custom at the last minute. So she cried so much, and she thought because she was already 76 last year, she thought that would be her last chance to see me, but she was stopped because of obviously me. And later on, I never chose to be silenced. So I spoke out. I wrote an open letter to President Trump, to Vice President Pence, and I exposed all this. So somehow they felt, I don't know what the decision process. Anyway, they gave her another passport, so she was able to visit me. This year. Yes, so yes, so that was the
Yay, Trump.
Yes, so I think that kind of experience tells us. I think for me, I never chose to be silenced. If they do anything to my family members to China, I expose them, and I cried out loud, and I say, oh, please help me. My mom needs to come to see me. So that's what happened. But yeah.
Did she just grab you and cry? Like, oh, my baby.
Yes, I think, but still life is difficult for all my families in China, family, relatives, sisters. They were constantly monitored, harassed, and they would not get promoted in their position, and they were given less salary. than others. So China life it's very difficult for them inside China.
Do you feel guilty a little bit sometimes, or do you feel like you're doing the right thing? You are, but
Yes, I feel very painful in my heart for my family to suffer
yeah,
all this.
yeah.
But I do understand it's not my fault. It is not me persecuting
No,
any
it's
people.
government.
Yeah, it's the government, it's the Chinese Communist Party persecuting my family.
Yeah,
I felt painful about that, but I'm trying very hard to end this persecution as soon as possible, so everybody can enjoy a life with dignity.
yeah, I agree. So does that mean because I've interviewed you, I'll miss out on a chance to one day visit China?
Probably. You could get banned as well. You know, after the Hong Kong human rights and democracy bill was passed, I heard they banned, Marco Rubio, who initiated that bill, yeah, from entering into China.
Wow, that's
And
crazy.
yes, they could do such kind of thing. Yeah, they could ban you from China. That could happen.
Well, I'm a nobody with 3,000 subs, so
Yeah, hopefully not. Who knows? We
oh,
can try.
well, if you share this interview everywhere, they'll see. But that's
Yes,
fine with
they
me.
were.
I
They
want
were.
I want you to share it.
Okay, I will.
I know you will. Oh, that's crazy. I'm so sorry about everything you've gone through. It's really sad. And I don't mean to be silly or sound annoying, but I really think your family, what they need is Christ, and then they'll have peace in their heart. That's just what I think. But
Thank you for that
okay.
advice. Yes.
That's all right. Well, I think I'll let you go. We ended up going for about an hour and 10 minutes. That's a good amount of time. Usually, because normally this would be live, I would get you to answer questions from the audience. But you probably need to do other things because you're a busy lady. And yeah, thank you so much. Your story is so interesting, and I'm really glad you said yes. You have no idea who I was, and you said yes to me. So I hope you felt like it was worth it.
Yes, I treasure every opportunity in which I can tell the truth to people. Thank you so much.
No worries. It was really my pleasure. God bless you, and I wish you luck on your fight. And hopefully, this is my small way with this interview of helping and letting the Australian audience know what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you
No
very much.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll talk to you soon. We're Twitter friends now, so that's nice.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay, see you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.